Okay, now in the very early days, you know, talk about the early 60s or late 50s, the press people always used to label us as mad scientists. So then we had press walk-downs and things like that, and I said, okay, I'm going to give them that mad scientist tour. So what we would do is, here in the blockhouse, we had a fellow from ABMA which run the little remote cameras we had up on the pad, up in the, what now would be the white room or the green room. So when I got the press people up, I always tell them that for us, the rockets and the structures, everything is alive, and you need to talk to him. I says, now for instance, when we went up in the elevator, I says, you go in the white room and you say, oh, good morning. You say good morning to your spacecraft. They look at me, and I said, now look at the camera. And what happened is when I said good morning, you know, the camera would do this. They look again. And then I would ask him, I said, I look at the camera, I said, now do you like my company, you know? And the camera would do this. By that time they didn't know. I was nuts or they were nuts. You know, but we used to play that with the press people. Now, right now you are in the similar thing like we used to have a firing room on pad 5. And the guy who was really in charge of it, the test conductor, that was his place, Bob Moser was his name at that time. And the dignitaries, they would always vie for the favorite spot at the windows, because it was one of the few blockhouses at that time where you actually could see the lounge from inside looking through a window, not through a periscope. And the funny part was that when you had people like Dr. Davis or Werner von Braun, they would look at it, and when the missile would ignite, and they looked through the window and the blast would come toward the blockhouse, they all would duck down. It was always funny because these windows you cannot penetrate. They are heavy enough to withstand a full blast. So these things today look very, very primitive. You look at the consoles here in the room next to it, and there may be 20 or 30 consoles. Now today we are going into the 100 consoles to launch a shuttle and things like that. The same way the instrumentation, you had the old plug in here, and wire there. You look behind these things and there were big wire nests of cables, and anytime you wanted to change, you just had to go ahead and look in the cable and find the right one and change it. So these were what we call the old days. Now you're sophisticated with computers and things like that, which makes quite a difference. So we would have the individual sections, so to speak, behind their consoles here, and they would then organize it. We go through the launch count, which at that time was possibly just only 5-6 hours long, compared to 3.5 days today. And then you would proceed, and then when everybody gave you a green light, the chief test conductor, he would give the firing command. Now, needless to say, it was not that he sat there and says, push a button and go. That never was really the case, that you just push a button to make it go. And even today, it is not the same anymore, because if you watch a shuttle launch, the shuttle actually launches itself. In other words, when you look at the shuttle, at T-minus 29 seconds, the control goes from the ground launch sequencer to the onboard computers. One of the reasons for that is, like in the shuttle, we are igniting the engines at 7 seconds before liftoff, the main engines on the orbiter itself. And what it does, it pushes the whole vehicle over and it slowly sways back and forth. Now, in order to launch it, you have to watch it when the missile is in the 0 position, otherwise you hit the structure. So that's the reason when the firing command is issued, the missile actually looks itself and says, wait a minute, okay, now I'm at 0, now I can ignite the solids. So there's no such things as, hate to disappoint you, but 3, 2, 1 and push the button. No, that isn't quite the way it goes.